Yes, very good afternoon. Right, so yesterday we completed with a huge chapter on investigations and due diligence. Right, we studied the non-statutory investigations like investigation on behalf of incoming partner, investigation on behalf of a bank, investigation on behalf of an individual who proposes to buy a business, valuation of shares in private companies, and very important over there, we studied the investigations of fraud. Fraud in cash receipts, fraud in cash payments, suppliers ledger, customers ledger, and the defalcation of stock. And we also studied the different levels at which fraud could be committed in an organization. One, fraud for personal gain, where you had bribery. Then the corporate frauds, like, advance billing, dummy companies, money laundering or so. And then we talked about the fraud at the operational level employees, like, tampering of checks, off-book frauds, misappropriation of cash, teaming and lading, expense reimbursement, fraudulent reimbursement, payroll schemes, and a payroll fraud, and also the commission schemes. Then after that, we came to due diligence. Due diligence, evaluation of a prospective business decision, doing your homework before you take a decision to invest. So there is an acquirer company, there is a target company, and there are the synergies which you need to check for. So on whose behalf is the due diligence being done? Acquirer company. Where is it being conducted? At the target company. And what you want to do? You want to check the synergies which are available. And then regarding this due diligence, we covered 3 questions. One, the classification of due diligence or the areas in which due diligence can take place. Second one, the steps involved in a financial due diligence. And the last one, the contents of the due diligence report. Right? Classification of due diligence, operational, financial. Then after that, legal, environmental, tax due diligence, personal due diligence, and the information system due diligence. Steps involved in a financial due diligence, history of the company, background of the promoters first, then accounting policies, financial statements, cash flows, projections, taxation, management and employees, and the statutory compliances. And very important, we saw under the financial statements in the balance sheet, you need to look out for 2 things. Whether there are any hidden liabilities or whether there are any overvalued assets, right? This question is an ATF. Hidden liabilities and overvalued assets. And last, we studied the contents of the due diligence report. Right, what were the contents? Introduction, objective and scope, history and background, shareholding pattern, management pattern, financial status, operating results, hidden and contingent liabilities, statutory and tax liabilities, any lien or charge created, SWOT analysis, and suggestions regarding points to be taken care of before and after the merger or acquisition. Right, after that, after looking at the question bank of this chapter, then we came to the next chapter, internal audit, management and operational audit. But what did I say? Before we discuss internal audit, I will discuss internal controls and internal check with you. So internal controls, we discussed internal financial controls, the policies and procedures to ensure SAPOTA. You remember SAPOTA? And a safeguarding of assets, then adherence to company policies, prevention, detection of fraud and error, then orderly and efficient conduct of its business, then timely preparation of reliable financial information, and accuracy and completeness of the accounting records. Do you remember? Those were also the objectives of internal control. Okay, why should there be controls in an organization? And then we talked about internal check. The arrangement of the day-to-day activities in such a manner that no single person handles a transaction from the beginning to the end. Allocation of authority and work in such a manner that work of one person is complementary to that of another, independently checked by another. And in spite of the above arrangement, there is no duplication of work. And then an important question which had also come in the November 16 exams, framing an effective system of internal check. And what was the key word in that answer? Employees. Segregation of work, authority, responsibility defined based on competence, capability of the employees. Then instruction should be given, training should be given to the employees, regular rotation, periodic leave of the employees. Then we said there should be a budgetary control. There should be more use of mechanical devices. There should be periodic physical verification. And the last one, accounting and custodial function should be separated. Right. And then we also saw a question, some new life hospital, multi-speciality, and the person in charge of inventory is also updating the records. So we said the basic system is being violated, maker checker is not being separate, and then what are the points to be considered while framing an effective system of internal check? Yes, do you remember that? Right, then one more thing I want to revise before I actually come to the standard is SA 610. What is SA 610? Using the work of internal auditors. 600 is another auditor, no? Right, we have these three friends over there in the 600 series. Branch auditor, internal auditor, and the auditor's expert. So 610 is regarding using the work of the internal auditors. Right, can the company auditor, can the external auditor, statutory auditor rely on the work of internal auditors? Yes, he can rely, but he cannot blindly rely. And rather now the new standard is also talking about a concept of direct assistance. Whether the external auditor, can he take any direct assistance from the internal auditor? If he decides to take direct assistance, then in that case DSR, direct supervise and review the work of internal auditor. Right, so internal auditors, again we talked about two evaluations. One, the general evaluation of the internal audit function, and second one, the specific evaluation of the internal audit function. Right, under the general evaluation, we had OCA. The objectivity of the internal audit function in the organization, yani how much importance is given to internal audit in the organization. Then the technical competence of the internal auditors. Are they the members of relevant professional bodies? Do they follow the standards on internal audit? Do they have the training and proficiency? Do they have knowledge of the AFRF? Right, and the last one, the systematic and disciplined approach, including the quality control. Yani proper DSR, documentation, program of the work being done. And specific evaluation, again, what did we say? Work of internal auditors has been properly planned, performed, supervised, reviewed, and documented. Then whether sufficient, appropriate evidence has been obtained by the internal auditors, and the conclusions reached have been supported by the work performed. So general evaluation and specific matlab says specifically I am checking what work have the internal auditors done for checking of expenditure cycle. So that is specific evaluation. Expenditure ka checking karte waqt, did they prepare a plan? Did they properly perform, supervise, review, document the work? Expenditure cycle ka, did they obtain sufficient appropriate evidence? And say expenditure ka, are the conclusions reached supported by the work performed? Right, so that's just a quick revision of SA 610, which is regarding using the work of internal auditors. Okay, right. And then I've already also discussed with you section 138 of the Companies Act 2013, which is regarding the internal audit. You understand? And we studied which companies are required to appoint an internal auditor. Listed companies, always. Then after other than listed companies, we said unlisted public companies. Having doubling PBT. Do you remember doubling PBT? 25 doubling PBT. Having deposits of more than or equal to 25 crore at any point of time during the preceding financial year. Having paid up share capital of more than or equal to 50 crore at the end of the financial year. Borrowings of more than 100 crore again at any point of time during the preceding financial year. And turnover of more than or equal to 200 crore during the financial year. That is at the end. So I told you, deposits and borrowings is for 365 days. Whereas paid up share capital and turnover is for the last day of the financial year. Right, and then third set of companies we talked about is the private companies, for which there are only two conditions: borrowings more than 100 crore or turnover of more than or equal to 200 crore. These are the companies which are now required under the Companies Act 2013 to appoint an internal auditor. So who will appoint the internal auditor? The board of directors, and they will appoint the internal auditor. The scope, periodicity, functioning, methodology of the internal auditor will be decided by the audit committee. If there is an audit committee, otherwise it would be decided by the board. Internal auditors, to whom will they submit their report? Again to the management, to the board of directors of the company. What are the qualifications for the internal auditor? Chartered accountant, whether in practice or not. Very good. Then cost accountant or any other professional as may be decided by the board. So what does it say? CA, whether in practice or not. Then cost accountant or any other professional. So it could be CS also, it could be any other professional, say lawyer also for that matter. But it says professional. And 11वीं 12वीं pass nahi chalega. Or any other professional as may be decided by the board. What are the qualifications? Yes, chartered accountant, whether in practice or not. Then or cost accountant or any other professional as may be decided by the board. Okay. Can he be an employee of your company also? Yes, can he be an employee of the company also? Yes, may or may not be an employee of the company. What does it say? He may or he may not be an employee of the company. Right, so what does it say? Chartered accountant, cost accountant, whether engaged in practice or not. Yes, or such other professional as may be decided by the board. Are you finding that? Chartered accountant, cost accountant, whether engaged in practice or not, or such other professional as may be decided by the board. And he may or he may not be an employee of the company. Obviously, what is the main hardcore work of the internal auditor? To review the adequacy of the internal control system in the organization. Like, you know, we had studied CRISM. Do you remember 5 components of internal control, SA 315? CRISM. C for control environment, R for risk assessment, I for information system and communication, C for control activities, and M for monitoring. And I told you monitoring is nothing but internal audit. And you need to again and again keep on reviewing the internal control system in the organization. So all other roles of the internal auditor put aside. What is the main responsibility of the internal auditor? To maintain an adequate system of internal control. Okay, are there any weaknesses? Are there any deficiencies? Right, audit committee will decide the scope, functioning, periodicity and methodology for the internal audit. And the central government may prescribe certain rules for the same. Next one, this is again a question asked in the exams, work to be reviewed by the internal auditor. What is the work to be reviewed by the internal auditor? So obviously first point, without any second thought, what you can write is review of internal control system and procedures. And a review of internal control system. Are you finding it in your books, page number 11.2? What is the work to be reviewed? First work of internal auditor to review the internal control system. Then safeguarding of assets, monetary and non-monetary. So from our supporter, we are taking S. And obviously, see logically also if I try to understand, what does that mean? Okay, why should there be internal controls in the organization or those internal financial controls as said by the Companies Act? To achieve these objectives. And to achieve these objectives, that is the reason why there should be controls. Now obviously internal auditor, what he is going to check? Okay, whatever were these objectives which were to be achieved by the design, implementation, maintenance of internal control, are they being achieved or not? You understand? And if it is not being achieved, that means it's a weakness in control. Internal auditor found out that there is lot of misappropriation of asset which is taking place. Companies' policies are not being adhered to. That frauds and errors have taken place. No orderly, efficient conduct of business. There is delay in preparation of financial information. Accounting records are not complete. Matlab what? Ek to objective not achieved, and second, it's a deficiency in control, and that is what you will come to know when you are doing the internal audit. So whatever points I have for internal control, the supporter, I can also use those similar points even for the internal audit ka objective. But then they also talk about additional points like effective, efficient use of the resources, economic use of the resources in the organization. Then timely availability of data, which is required by management and third parties. It says reliable data. Then this is a very nice point. Okay, internal auditor, you also need to review the organizational structure in the organization. You also need to study the organization structure. You understand organization structure, no? There's the CEO of the company, then there are all these department heads which are working under him, purchase manager, production manager, sales, marketing. Under these people, they have a team of 10 people. And then under these, each one of them, there are some 2 people working. So that's the organization structure. So obviously, internal control, again, some authority responsibility, there might be a problem. Some internal check, there might be a problem. So they also need to review the organization structure. They also need to review the various operations of the entity. All the activities, all the operations, like say even in Amazon, when they do internal audit, they'll check the packing and dispatching of the goods also. Because that is also an operation of the company. Right, so what is the question that I'm discussing with you? Work to be reviewed by internal auditor. The first point though, without a second thought, review of internal control system. Then safeguarding of assets. Then compliance by the various segments with the policies, plans and procedures. So my supporter ka A na, adherence to company policies. Are you getting? पहला S था ना, safeguarding of assets. फिर second क्या है? Adherence to company policies. System of collecting data, both monetary and non-monetary, to ensure that information given to management and external parties is relevant and reliable. So T over there, na, timely preparation of reliable financial information. And then what are the new points I told you? Organizational structure, efficient economic use of resources, and also the various operations. So what we can do over there, internal audit, what are the work to be reviewed by internal auditor? You can again write down this supporter over there. And out of will circle S, safeguarding of assets, then adherence to company policy, timely preparation of reliable financial information. These 3 are not over there. And then these are the other ones. This data ka point I have taken over here. So resources, organization, structure, operation. And first main work of the internal auditor is to review the internal control system. Review of the internal control system. Are you getting this? Are you developing this in your books also? Yes, have you written it in the books also? But I think one thing is registered in your mind, no? Okay, IFC is equal to supporter. Safeguarding of assets, adherence to company policy, prevention, detection of fraud and error, orderly and efficient conduct of business, timely preparation of reliable financial information, and accuracy and completeness of the accounting records. Right? And then work to be reviewed. What is this answer which we have prepared? Work to be reviewed by the internal auditor. Right. So far, let's summarize what have I discussed with you. Internal control, internal check. Then after that, SA 610, using the work of internal auditors. Then I discussed section 138. In that I discussed who can be appointed as an internal auditor. Then what is the work to be reviewed by the internal auditor. Who can be appointed? CA, CMA, whether in practice or not, or such a the professional as may be decided by the board. And that person, he may or may not be an employee of the company. Okay. Then after that, now in your final audit syllabus, you also have one standard on internal audit which is applicable to you. So that is SIA 4. SIA 4, which talks about the basic elements of the internal auditor's report. Which talks about the basic elements of the internal auditor's report. So again, since the time that has been introduced in your syllabus, no question asked so far. Right, so SIA 4. So far we've studied only all the essays, standards on auditing, that is for statutory audit. Now this is one standard on internal audit which is applicable to you, SIA 4. Right, so again this report will have a title, then addressee. Right, then over here, new points. You will give the report distribution list. And okay, this report is for the audit committee, board of directors, management, others within the organization. And the period of coverage of the report. Because see, generally statutory audit is for 3 months or 6 months or generally for 1 year or so. The scope is, the period is fixed, no? The audit could be for 1 year or it could be for a quarterly audit or so. Here the scope and functioning and all is decided by the audit committee board of directors for internal audit. So very important to give the period of coverage of the report. Your report is for the controls during which period? 6 months, full year, 3 months, what is the period? So 2 new points which are added over there, the report distribution list and the period of coverage of the report. So title, addressee, then these 2 new points, then the introductory paragraph. When I am doing a statutory audit, I identify the financial statements which I am going to audit. We have audited the accompanying financial statements of ABC Company Limited. Now here what I am going to identify, the policies and procedures, the internal control system which I am going to audit in the internal audit function. Right, so introductory paragraph. Then after that, next one which is going to come is the management's responsibility. And okay, design, implementation, maintenance of these internal control, whose responsibility? Management's responsibility. Now I will not call it as auditor's responsibility. I shall now call it as the internal auditor's responsibility. And now I shall call it as the internal auditor's responsibility. In audit report, what we write down? We have conducted our audit in accordance with the standards on auditing issued by the ICAI. Here I'll write down, we have conducted our internal audit in accordance with the generally accepted audit procedures applicable to the circumstances. Generally accepted audit procedures applicable to the circumstances. Then after that, we will write down the objective and scope. Right, the objective and scope. Then after that, the population and the sampling technique. The population and the sampling technique being used by the internal auditors. So it's like a brief description of your audit procedures and auditor's responsibility paragraph, and the description of the methodology and the tools used by the internal auditor. So this could again form a retail question in your exams, internal auditor's responsibility. So title, addressee, introductory paragraph, your responsibility, our responsibility. And now we will come to the opinion. But have you ever seen an internal audit report? Have you ever seen in practical life an internal audit report? Okay, in that internal audit report, say there are some 10 deficiencies in internal control that have been identified. So one first thing what they do, they give an executive summary of all the findings of the internal auditor. You understand now, something like when you look at the news channel at 9 o'clock or 8 o'clock in the evening, first you get to see the headlines. And in first 5 minutes, they'll tell you all what is going to be discussed. And then after that, they pick up one point and start telling you the detail, or some media person, journalist, and he speaks about the same. Okay, so first in the internal audit report, they will give an executive summary of all the findings of the internal auditors. Executive summaries. Right, so all the deficiencies which have been identified. Then after the executive summary, next thing, now they will give the detailed findings. The detailed findings, observations, and also the recommendations of the internal auditor. So internal audit report ka, this is one special thing. He doesn't only give his findings, but he also gives us recommendations. Stat audit report, we don't give any recommendations. Here there is an element of propriety, no. So we will also give recommendations. Then what we do, once our report is prepared till this stage, executive findings, then the detailed observations, then we give our report to the management, a draft report to the management. and tell the management to give their comments about the findings of the internal auditor. So the comments from the local management. You know, what are the actions which are going to be taken by the management? What are the responses of the management? What corrective actions is the management going to take? And the management is going to take. So the comments of the local management. And so we always keep a blank column, you know. We tell management that this blank column aapko bharna hai, कि what corrective action are you going to take? Then what happened? This is my internal audit report of 2017. Last year also, in 2016 also, I had issued an internal audit report. In that also, I had given my findings. In that also, the management had given their comments, that we will do like this, we will take corrective action, this is how we will improve. So have you actually done all that you said in that report? So what does it say? The ATR, the action taken report for the past internal audit report submitted. So this time ka to we are giving, but ek past ka bhi we take a summary. We take a synopsis, we take an analysis. Action taken for the past internal audit report submitted. Action taken for the past internal auditor's report issued. Past internal auditor's report issued. So what, these are the findings for the current year, these are the actions you are going to take, but last year ke actions ka kya hua? Have those been taken, or is it a chronic deficiency? No rectification done so far. And then after that, again, routine. Yani ki routine matlab SPD, signature, place and date. I hope you remember that. And so whatever I have written in red color, that is the new thing over there. No? Report distribution list, period of coverage of the report. Then instead of just auditor's responsibility, here I write it down as the internal auditor's responsibility. And then these 4 new very essential points are executive summary, detailed findings, comments from the local management, and the actions taken for the past internal auditor's report submitted. And then you have the signature, place and date. Is everybody getting this? Basic elements of the internal auditor's report. New points kya hai? Period of coverage of the report, report distribution list. And then those 4 points after the internal auditor's responsibility. Executive summary, detailed findings, comments from the management, and the ATR, the action taken for the past internal auditor's report submitted. Yes, everybody okay with this much? Okay, so now come to the question bank, come to question number 1. Yes, question number 1, PQR Limited, a listed company. Everybody? You're at the question bank. Page number 11.11. PQR Limited, a listed company and having an average annual turnover of more than 5 crore, has no internal audit system. Listed company, no. So that 5 crore has no relevance over there. ऐसे तो unlisted public company के लिए it says turnover more than or equal to 200 crore. But listed companies, it says direct applicable. So what does it say? In this case, PQR is a listed company. As the company is a listed company, the provisions related to internal audit shall be applicable. The turnover limit given has no relevance over here. You have to write down this in the answer. Huh? Turnover has no relevance over here. Therefore, the auditor will have to mention in his report the fact of not having such internal audit system by the company. Right, come to question number 2. Interior Private Limited. What are the conditions for internal audit to be applicable to a private company? Borrowings more than 100 crore or turnover of more than or equal to 200 crore. Okay, so read. Is a manufacturing company having a turnover of 210 crore, but having maximum outstanding loan from PFI of 90 crore only during the preceding year. So it's and or? It's or, no? It's not and. So is internal audit required by Interior Private Limited? Yes. So Interior Private Limited is having a turnover of 200 and loan of 90. Here in the case the turnover is over and above 200 crore rupees, that is either of the condition in respect of turnover or outstanding loan is satisfied. Therefore the company is liable for internal audit as per section 138. Everybody getting that? Right. Read question number 3. WWF is a public company. 40 lakh paid up capital in previous year, which raised to 60 lakh in the current year under audit. The company had turnover of previous 3 years of 49, 145 and 150. Just to confuse you, they've given you 3 years ka turnover. During the previous year, they had taken a loan of 110 crore but squared up 20 crore by the year end. And at any point of time during the preceding financial year, that loan was more than 100 crore. It was 110 crore. And at the end of the year, it became 90 crore. But what did I tell you? For deposits and for borrowings, it is 365 days during the preceding financial year. So the provisions relating to applicability and the contention of the management, then who can be appointed as an internal auditor? Right? So what does it say? At some point of time, it was more than 100 crore, which is the requirement of the section. Hence, WWF has the statutory liability to appoint an internal auditor and mandatorily conduct an internal audit. Consequently, the contention of the management is not tenable. Right. Question number 4. AB Private Limited, having outstanding loans and borrowings from banks exceeding 100 crore, wants to appoint an internal auditor. Okay, so these guys know that internal audit is applicable to them. Please guide him who can be appointed as an internal auditor and what would be reviewed by him. So work to be reviewed and the qualifications, right? 4 marks, May 2015. Question number 5. State the important aspects. So I just discussed, general evaluation and the specific evaluation of the internal audit function. So that is why it said refer essay 610. OCA, no? What is OCA? The objectivity, the competence and the approach, systematic and disciplined approach including quality control. Read next question. MK Limited. Now these are those questions where you have to pray to God. Draw out an internal audit plan specifying the coverage of area. Now actually it is not Companies Act ka question. Had it been that, then we would have written the work to be reviewed by internal auditor. And if you look at the suggested answer which I have given down, what they did, all the points which are there in essay 300, na, planning and audit of financial statements, those are the points which they've written in the answer. What does it say? Draw out the internal audit plan specifying the coverage of area. Right, so even this, so first maybe we can just revise, I don't think you remember now. So if I first discuss with you essay 300. Essay 300, planning and audit of financial statements. In that we had factors to be considered in the development of the overall audit plan. What are the factors to be considered? First factor which I told you, very important, pehle to tell us what is the objective and scope. Then you need to apply your professional judgment. Then you need to apply your professional judgment which areas significant effort is going to be required to be put by the internal auditors. I think I had given you an example that time, you have realized for this attempt audit I need to join a class. So that's your professional judgment, which area significant effort is required to be put. So like this year Jio Limited has come up with an IPO. So equity share capital is going to require more effort this time. So that's your professional judgment, which area significant effort. And now we go for a risk-based audit approach. We don't do equal checking for all elements of financial information. The higher the risk, you remember the gulab jamuns, no? The more the checking. For risk, then we do the normal checking. Normal checking to we do only. 2 gulab jamuns everybody gets only. But only as the risk is high, when it becomes an SR, significant risk, then we do more checking. Right. Then after that we had said over there the results of the PEA, the preliminary engagement activities. KOC, NOC in case of an initial audit, acceptance, continuance of client and so. Then after that we said understanding the laws and regulations which are applicable to the entity and how the entity is complying with those laws and regulations. Then also performing the risk assessment procedures. What are the risk assessment procedures? IAOR, SA 315 we had discussed, no? Inquiries of management and others within the entity, analytical procedures, observation and inspection, and a few related activities. Then I told you that in your firm there are 300 CAs working. Out of that, which CAs to take for this assignment? How many people will be required to do the assignment? So you need to identify the nature, timing and extent of resources which will be required to perform the engagement. Then selecting those resources, yani ke selection of the engagement team members. Yes, and the last one, deciding upon the DSR, direction, supervision, review. Otherwise what? Everybody wants to become a boss. Nobody wants to listen to anybody else. Then you also need to determine the materiality. You also need to determine the involvement of the experts. Then you also have to coordinate with the other auditors and experts. And you also have to decide the nature, timing and extent of the audit procedures to be performed. And this was a ATF question. I marked it for you. I told you it's a general question. Whenever any planning ka question comes in the exam, this is the raw material which you have to use in your answer. Factors to be considered in the development of the overall audit plan or overall audit strategy. Overall audit plan or overall audit strategy. And now you look over here, read the points that are written over there. Doesn't look like more of internal audit plan, but anyways, they have given, so we need to, boss is always right. So, terms of engagement, you read, then I will read again with you if required. पूरा ऑडिट का लगा के रखा है. Yes, similar points. They talk of materiality levels, significant audit areas, yani ki which areas, I told you, professional judgment, which areas significant effort required, nature, timing and extent of procedures, involvement of experts, staffing requirement, I told you selection of engagement team members, legal statutory requirements, right? Then conditions requiring special attention, right? And then they are talking about accounting policies, lot about accounting policies over here. First one, statutory responsibilities, that is the objective and scope. And next page, they talk about inventory verification, verifying the records of scrap, physical verification of cash, fixed assets, how they are being verified. Right, so what is that? That's a question regarding the draw out the internal audit plan specifying the coverage of area. But keeping this ICAI answer aside, the examiner overall also, if you write down a good answer, because again, Companies Act, legal question, audit committee, corporate governance, liability, there is a standard answer which is required to be written. Okay, and thus questions are repeated. Now here again, open-ended question. So open-ended question, even though if it does not, all these points do not match word by word, but your presentation is proper, you're writing sentences, the quality of your points is same, you're leaving a line, you're underlining the important words, then again you can score, say, 1.5, 2 out of 4, even with your own answer over there. 4 out of 4, though, not, SAB, had you known the answer also, you would not have got more than 3 out of 4. And now that you don't know the answer and still if you write, then 1.5, 2 out of 4 or so. Okay, right? Then question number 7, we've seen it yesterday, no? Framing an effective system of internal check. Then question number 8. Hannah, everybody, are you reading question number 8? The managing director of X Limited is concerned about high employee attrition rate. Attrition matlab kya? Circulation नहीं. Leaving, छोड़ के जा रहे. Termination. Yeah, leaving one after the other. है ना? Employees are leaving the organization. As the internal auditor of the company, he requests you to analyze the causes for the same. Why everybody is leaving us and going? Okay, so say you are working in a CA firm. And then you say, bas, abhi to tomorrow morning to I'm going to send my resignation letter. Why you want to leave? Why? No, after articleship, once you qualify, you become a chartered accountant, 1.5 year experience, and then you are like, abhi, I don't need anyone. I will resign, I will join another firm. Why you leave a particular organization? No job satisfaction. Monetary benefits are very low. Less opportunities, no growth prospects are there. Work pressure, no work-life balance. Bad boss. Environment, no proper working, conducive working environment. You've got better opportunities, you've got an offer, they are giving you 30% more salary as compared to these people. Wonderful, those are all the points. Job stress and work-life imbalance, wrong policies of the management, unbearable behavior of the senior staff, safety factors, limited opportunities for promotion, low monetary benefits, lack of labor welfare schemes. Yes, whether the organization has properly qualified and experienced personnel, number of people employed at work centers are excessive or inadequate. Organization provides staff training so that employees and workers keep themselves abreast of the current techniques and practices. So why would you leave a particular job? That's the question. 4 marks, May 2013. Probably the exams, the paper setter would have just left a job. So he thought, let me ask the students also. Okay, right. Next one, framing an effective system of internal check. This question we've done it yesterday. Next one, objectives of internal check system. Internal check, so again yesterday, no single person should handle a transaction from the beginning to the end. So what does it say? To detect errors and frauds, to minimize the possibility of errors, increase efficiency of staff, locate responsibility area, integrity of business, and prevent misappropriation or embezzlement of cash. Can we support her? To some extent, yes, you can write, but don't make it so obvious. Thoda your own, just differently. So question number 11. To see, so many questions are there from this topic only: internal control, internal check, internal audit. Read question number 11. Internal audit system. So again, SA 610, using the work of internal auditors, OCA. Evaluation of internal audit function in the organization. So that's again SA 610. You can write down over there, refer SA 610. Read question number 12. UV Limited appointed Manan, a recently qualified CA, for conducting internal audit. CA Manan seeks your advice in drafting a good quality internal audit report. You're therefore required to guide him elaborating the essential features of a good internal audit report. So mind me, they are not asking you the contents of the internal audit report. SIA4, they are not asking you that. They are asking you the essential features of a good internal audit report. But what I'm going to do, I am going to borrow points from there. Like, findings and conclusions, then recommendations to be given, then auditee's view, then summary, supporting information, draft report, writing and issue the final report. So, in SRA 4, these 4 points which I talked to you about now, Executive summary, detailed findings. Do you see these? Executive summary, detailed findings, comments from the local management, that is auditee view, and then the action taken. And so these points I can also include in the essential features of a good internal audit report. And then what are the other features that they talk about? It should be objective. Yes, are you all there? Page number 11.15. Yes, objectivity. To maintain the credibility, the comments and opinions expressed in the report should be objective and unbiased. Then clarity. The language used should be simple and straightforward. Avoid technical terms and jargons, yes, because the users may not understand. Accuracy. Information contained in the report, whether quantified or otherwise, should be accurate. Then brevity is a vital subject, of course, to the condition that important information should not be omitted. Constructiveness. Destructive criticism should carefully be avoided. The report should clearly demonstrate that the internal auditor is trying to assist the auditor in the discharge of his responsibilities. Reader's interest should be captured, and timeliness. You have to submit the report at proper time, because obviously if there is too much of time lag, you identified a deficiency in control in September 2016 and you are reporting it in June 2018. So obviously time for the corrective action is being delayed. So again it says there should be timeliness of the report. Right? So that's again a pure RTP question. What are the essential features of a good internal audit report? So what I discussed in the chapter was a different question. SIA 4, basic elements of the internal audit report. And in the question bank we are seeing another question. Okay, what are the good features of a good internal audit report? Right, so I think that finally, okay, one more question for internal audit. As an internal auditor for a large manufacturing concern, you are asked to verify whether there are adequate records for identification and value of plant and machinery, tools and dies. So whether there are adequate records, that is what you are asked to check. And whether any of these items have become obsolescent and not in use, draft a suitable audit program for the same. So whether the company is maintaining adequate records for plant and machinery, tools and dies. So pehle to they talk about the internal control aspects. Okay, following are the points in the internal control. Okay, separate register for hired assets, leased assets, joint assets. Maintaining register of fixed assets and reconciling to physical inspection. Movement of assets accurately recorded. Authorization obtained, then purchase of new asset, then security arrangements and insurance cover. So that's the internal control aspects. And abhi question mein kya bola hai? Whether there are adequate records. So now see, they have made a list of all the records, the registers which are required to be maintained for plant and machinery, tools and dies. Asset register, cost report and journal register, code register, physical verification report, movement register, asset disposal register, spare parts register. और फिर next क्या है question में second part क्या है? And whether any of these items have become obsolescent and not in use. Are you seeing it in the question? Whether any have become obsolescent and not in use. So review of maintenance, review of obsolescence and review of R&D. Right, so when was this question asked? May 2005, and then but again put in RTP May 16 also. So adequate records, matlab you have to talk of all the register, code register, physical verification register, disposal register, spare parts register, review of maintenance, review of obsolescence. Right, so that finally completes the discussion for those internal check, internal audit and internal control. Now that permits me to go to the next part of the chapter, which is regarding the management audit and operational audit. Are you all getting? Right, so now we come to the next part of the chapter, which is regarding the management audit and the operational audit. Right. Yes, what do you mean by management audit? To audit the management means what? To see the power. Do you think management actually has policies and what exactly? But then that's what we do in internal audit, no? What you're telling me is more for an internal audit. Auditing the work of management. You're a manager in a company. And somebody asks you, what do you do? So you say, I'm a manager. So you're a manager means exactly what do you do? Huh? What 3 levels? Top. Okay, okay, okay. So, matlab, you're a manager means what's your main role? Decision making. To manage means to take decisions. So do you think looking at the term management audit, it has got something to do with the top management? Has it got something to do with the top management in the organization? Something like that? Yes, not necessarily. So management audit is first the audit of the decision making of the management. So I can call it as the decision making audit. It is evaluating the manager's ability to manage. Evaluating the manager's ability to manage. It is an audit of the management. You understand? You're checking the quality of managing in the organization. The quality of managing, the quality of management in the organization. So that does not mean, management audit means it's got something to do with the top. Wherever a decision is taken in the organization, so say the clerk takes a decision, so that is also included in management audit. Wherever a decision is taken in the organization, that is included in the scope of management audit. So mainly it is a decision making audit. Then on the other hand, what is this operational audit? And you already know one audit which is internal audit. So what is operational audit and internal audit, and which is a wider term, operational audit or internal audit? Which is a wider term, internal audit or operational audit? Which is the wider out of the two? Operational audit or internal audit? Which is wider? Operational audit is wider as compared to internal audit. So first let me give an example before I again come back to this chart. Say I am doing an internal audit. So in internal audit, mainly I will check all the financial controls, that is 100%. And I will check the related non-financial controls, or which you can also call them as the administrative controls. Related ones I will check. I will not check all. Like, say example, I am checking the internal controls for fixed assets. So I'll check the acquisition ka control, the physical verification, the installation controls, depreciation, accounting entry, authorization, those controls I will check. Plus, I will also check the administrative control, like I told you, physical verification of the asset, repairs and maintenance control. I will check that. But when I'm doing an operational audit, I will check for all these controls, financial controls, and also all non-financial controls also. All the administrative controls also I will include in operational audit. Like right now the policy of the company is that they do the maintenance of their plant and machinery once in a month. What is the frequency for the maintenance, the oiling, greasing of machinery? Once in a month. So as an internal auditor, what will I check? Whether this repairs and maintenance expense is being charged to the profit and loss account, and whether the maintenance is being done every month. At that point my internal audit will stop. But when I'm doing an operational audit, I will also check whether this frequency of the maintenance of machinery, whether it is appropriate or not. I will say once a month you're maintaining the machine, that is why there is lot of breakdown of the machine. Your operational efficiency will increase. Instead of doing the maintenance once a month, if you start doing the maintenance of the machinery once in a week, internal audit, it does not make any difference whether you do the maintenance once in a month or once in a year, as long as your accounting is happening properly. But operational audit, it makes a difference. Just to give, just to convey this point, I can give you one example, at McDonald's, sometime back there was a scheme, years back rather. Once your order is served, once you have placed your order, say, whatever, burger, french fries, coke, once you've placed your order, within 1 minute the order should be served. And within 1 year, if the 1 minute, if the order is not served, then in that case you will be given a coke free. Now see, to the accounting part, to the internal control part, it doesn't make any difference because pura accounting to ho hi gaya hai. Money has also been received. Whether I give the 2 burgers after 10 minutes or whether they give them after 1 minute doesn't make any difference to my finance. You understand? But operationally, yes. It says our operations within the organization, their kitchen operation should be so robust. Okay, once an order has been placed by the customer, within 1 minute the order should be served, otherwise 1 coke free. So that's an example of operational audit, because please understand that is in no case affecting my financial statements or internal controls, but it is affecting the operational efficiency in the organization. Just one more example I can give you over there. This operational management audit, and many a times what they do, these audits are done together, so many a times they are called as management cum operational audit. And was conducted of a hospital. And in the hospital, it was done of the waste management in the hospital. Okay, so lot of syringes and saline bottles and all those in the, lot of waste generated, say 400 patient beds in the hospital. So huge amount of waste generated every day. Okay, so now in this hospital, say 400 patient beds, so around say 300 occupied, and many of them are allowed to take coconut water. An Indian relative in the hospital means the number of people visiting him. You understand? No. So now, and any person who goes to the hospital, he says, I should take something. And the best thing which they think of is to take coconut water with them. Okay, and they take 2 coconut waters with them generally. So now 2-3 relatives coming every day and some 300 patients in the hospital, and each of them getting 2 coconut waters. So say example, around 1,000 coconuts being collected in the waste of the hospital every day. And the size of the dustbin, no? You to put 2 coconut waters, 2 coconuts in that and it is full. You understand now? So every day in the garbage collection of the hospital, there used to be 900, 1,000 coconuts which used to be there, which they had to dispose. So what operational auditor gave them a suggestion? Okay, no allowing coconuts into the hospital. If anybody wants to bring coconut water for their patient, for their relatives and the patients, then what does it say? You have to pour it into a carry bag or into a water bottle or so, and then get it inside. So obviously that reduced the waste of the hospital by half. So obviously that is a finding of operational audit. Internal auditor would not have found this. Do you understand that? Okay. Right, so that is first regarding, so rather operational audit has been defined as, it is an extension of internal audit into operational areas. What an amazing definition, and I like such definitions. Extension of internal audit into operational areas, mast likha hai. And what is operational audit? It is an extension of internal audit into operational areas. This is an audit for the management. And a management audit was an audit of the management. This is an audit for the management. Here you are checking the quality of operations in an organization. You understand? You are checking the efficiency, economy, and the effectiveness of operations in the organization. It could also be called as you are evaluating the performance of the various operations in the organization. So it could also be called as a performance audit. And when I go to the chapter of PSUs, audit of public sector undertakings, there we have this performance audit, when I'll again get you back to these 3 E's, efficiency, economy and effectiveness. Efficiency, whether it has been executed well. Economy, all the resources have been procured in an economical manner. And effectiveness, whether the targeted objective is being achieved. Like McDonald's ka, what was the target? Order should be served within 1 minute. So whether that objective is being achieved. If it is not being achieved, then no effectiveness in your operations. So whether it is executed well. You understand? Na? Executed well. Ki immediately once an order is placed, it's seen on their screen inside, no, in the kitchen. Whether it is executed well. Then economy. Obviously for that they employed more 4 people to deliver the order within 1 minute. So whether it was economical. And then effectiveness. कि इतना सब करने के बाद जो भी objective था, whether that objective has been achieved or not. Does everybody understand? Okay, recent past they had asked one question. Management audit and operational audit are complementary and supplementary to one another. Discuss. So this is what you had to write in that answer. You understand? So actually, management audit and operational audit, they go together. In management audit, you check the decision making. In operational audit, you check the operational efficiency. Obviously, if decision making is proper, operational efficiency will be good. If operational efficiency is good, decision making will go better. So they go hand in hand together. No. So that is why many a times the company goes for management cum operational audit. Now, see, stat audit, tax audit, internal audit, VAT audit, secretarial audits, these are required under law, na, to certain extent. Are you all with me? And a stat audit, internal audit, tax audit, VAT audit, they are required under law. Is management operational audit required under any law? Is there any law saying if your turnover is more than 1,000 crore, you should get a management operational audit done? Is there any law which specifies? So already hell number of audits which are applicable to an entity, and which entity will voluntarily go for such an audit? कि they will say कि नहीं अपने कंपनी में मैनेजमेंट ऑडिट करके लेना पड़ेगा, अपने कंपनी में ऑपरेशनल ऑडिट करके लेना पड़ेगा. Which company will voluntarily say आ बैल मुझे मार? You understand now, where they know that there is some problem in decision making, there is some problem in our operational efficiency. Like say as an example, say you place an order at AS Foundation for a pen drive and we deliver the order within 2 days. But say as just as an example, if the order took 8 days to deliver, okay, after the student placed the order, it took say 8 days to deliver. So that's an operational efficiency matter. So we need to get an operational audit done. Okay, why are the operations not robust? Are you getting that? Okay. So now first I am going to discuss with you management audit. Has everybody written this? Okay. So now first I am going to discuss with you a chart on management audit. Everybody write with me only. Management audit, first we are going to discuss the definition which I have already discussed with you, and then the scope of management audit which I will discuss. Then after that we have 4 headings for management audit. First one, the procedure for conducting a management audit. Then after that the types of reports which would be issued by the management auditor. Next one, the behavioral aspects encountered in management audit. And the last one, the solutions to these behavioral problems. And solutions to these behavioral problems. Right. Procedure for conducting a management audit. What are the points under that one? First one, getting the facts through interviews. Everybody, are you writing? Right. Then measuring the performance through MAQ. What is MAQ? Management Audit Questionnaire. MAQ, Management Audit Questionnaire. Right, last one in the procedures, concluding a management audit. Then types of report to be issued: oral report, then the interim written report, then the regular written report, and the last one is the summary written report. Then behavioral aspects encountered in management audit, 3 C's over there: staff and line conflict, resistance to change, and the last one, controls. And then the solutions to these behavioral problems. What are the solutions that they talk of? Constructive criticism, then participative approach, and the last one is regarding the reporting methods. Right. Yes, this is all what we have to discuss regarding management audit. Line conflict. Staff and line conflict, resistance to change and control. Staff and line conflict, resistance to change and controls. Anytime you don't understand any word, please ask. Don't write wrong things in your book. Write the correct spellings also. मन से लिखने का नहीं, कुछ भी अंदाजा लगा के. Criticism, constructive criticism, participative approach, and reporting methods. Participative approach. हो गया लिख के?